Hey YouTube, it's me, Dr. Poo Poo. Today's January 10th, 2018, and today we're going to do a little review of the New Yorker magazine. So, I get this delivered to my door every week, and I read its latest perusings of culture and news and various journalistic endeavors. And it's something I like to curl up on a Sunday by a cozy fireplace and sip on a nice mug of ginger tea and sort of just explore the world from the comfort of my New Yorker magazine. So I'm just going to give a brief review to the different sections. So there's the going-ons about town. I skip that part every time because it's about stuff in New York, and I'm not really down with it. Next section is the talk of the town. I skip that section too because it's not the real meat of the New Yorker. To me, it's frivolous. It's extraneous. I don't need it. Next section, Letter from California, Exposure. The Entertainment Business Confronts Its Culture by Dana Goodyear. Now this is about the recent unraveling of Hollywood and the patriarchy in general. Dana Goodyear, the author, does a good job breaking down exactly what's happening and giving some context, giving some exclusive interviews, and posing questions for, what we should think about in the future as this continues to happen. Next section, Shouts and Murmurs, My Year in Celebrity Deaths by Bruce Handy. This was just a funny little list about celebrity deaths. Quirky. You could skip it if you want. It's not really that interesting, but you gotta hand it to Bruce. He did get a page in the New Yorker, so congratulations, Bruce. Next section, Personal History, Bodies at Rest and in Motion, Watching a Father Lose His Equilibrium by Siddhartha Mukherjee. And I didn't read this section yet, but it sounds very interesting, and I'm going to boil some water now and make my way into that. Next section, Reporter at Large, Making China Great Again. A newly confident nation embraces a golden role. By Evan Osnos. So this is about the growing empire of China, its burgeoning middle class and upper class, and they're dealing with a lot of stuff in a very populous country, a very geographically large country. So not much more to say there. He's breaking it down. Evan Osnos is really showing us what China is doing, and if you're American, you should probably be scared because you're not going to be number one for long, baby. Next section, David Monteleon with Jia Yang Fang. A New Silk Road, Images of China's Infrastructure Undertaking. So this was a series of photographs taken by David of various points along infrastructure that China has been developing. Not to my knowledge, not until I read this in the New Yorker. I was out of touch. I was unlearned. I was uneducated until I read this photography-based article about China. So, it's keeping me on my toes, and the fact that there's pictures I really appreciated because, sometimes you don't always want to read. So it's nice to have something to look at. And the pictures were quite breathtaking. Turns out China's building this massive infrastructure from China to Western Europe and Southeast Asia and Africa and the Middle East. and they call it a new Silk Road because, in a lot of ways, it mirrors the old trade routes of China's past along the Silk Road. But this time, it's got different connotations. We're in globalized capitalism. Things are much different in our economy today than they were in the Silk Road days. So I'm going to give that section a 10 out of 10. I didn't rate the other sections, but that one, because it's beautiful photography and because it paints a portrait of such a relevant issue, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Next section, fiction. Foreign Return, a story by Sadia Shepard. I didn't read this one yet either, but she name drops Connecticut a lot. I noticed as I was flipping through, and various towns in Connecticut. I saw the name Darien and Stamford and maybe even Fairfield. So props to Shepard for her knowledge of Fairfield County area of Connecticut, a suburb of New York. I'm sure it's pretty uncommon for writers of the New Yorker and also readers to have any idea what Connecticut is, even though it is so close to New York and lots of wealthy people live there. Yeah, Connecticut. Next section, The Critics. The Current Cinema, Phantom Thread by Anthony Lane. So this is a review of the eighth, I believe, Paul Thomas Anderson movie, called Phantom Thread with Daniel Day-Lewis. And I saw the trailer, and it's got Daniel Day-Lewis in it. It's got Johnny Greenwood on that orchestral score. What else could you ask for? You don't even need to read this friggin' review. Buy your movie tickets, buy your bag of popcorn, man. Head on to the theater. Take the wife, take the husband, take your partner. What are you waiting for? It's what time is it? It doesn't matter. You at work? Leave work, go to the movies. There's a new Paul Thomas Anderson movie out. Next section. Louis Menand, a critic at large, learning from the election of 1968. I didn't read this section either, but I can only imagine that it's basically about... I hope the sound is recording. I can only imagine it's basically about John F. Kennedy and the parallels in some ways perhaps to Trump. And then books, briefly noted. So that's the section where they review books. And then pop music. The Morose Sounds of Lil Peep and Lil Xan by Carrie Batan. I liked this section because it comments on a contemporary genre, and when you think of the New Yorker, you don't always think of contemporary necessarily. Maybe you think of a well-educated socialite, but not necessarily a youthful hip-hop subgenre that is burgeoned from the platform of SoundCloud. So props to the New Yorker for keeping their fingers on the friggin' pulse. They know what emo rap is? The New Yorker is writing about emo rap? Hands off to 10 out of 10, Carrie Batan. And that's the last section, but at the end they list the poems and the cover art. So the cover art is Ferried Across by Jorge Colombo. So this being the first issue, January 8th, 2018, of the New Yorker in the new year, or maybe it's the second one, I forget. There's some significance here about, I don't know, maybe immigration or taking the ferry, or I'm not totally sure what it's about, but it's a nice aesthetically pleasing cover with the classic New Yorker typeface dressing the top. And then, yeah, the poems I didn't read, but they were Love Poem Without a Drop of Hyperbole in It by Tracy Brimhall, and I can tell just by the title that's probably going to be a funny poem. And Central Maze by J. Hope Stein. And maybe that's maze is like a metaphor for something. I'm not sure. I didn't read it, but I don't tend to read poetry because I myself am a poet, and I find my poetry is the strongest when I minimize the influence of other poetry. That way it's uniquely my own voice. So there you have it. That's my review of the New Yorker this week. Overall, I'd probably give it a 10 out of 10 for staying so true to form. They got the New Yorker font on all the pages. They got the little cartoons to fill the space, and yeah, sometimes bigger cartoons. And you just gotta hand it to them for being one of the great publications of the 2010s. Here's a comic. This is kind of funny. It says, "Of course there's nothing on the horizon. That's what it's for." That's a good one. Alright, y'all. January 10th, 2018. New Yorker review. 10 out of 10. And thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Love you. It's your boy. It's your friend, Dr. Poo Poo. Ta-ta for now. How do I turn this thing on?